I'm Melly Little, and this is your daily TA wrap, where we take a look at these markets, and we do it from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves what happened today, and what might it tell us about the coming ones. I do the show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, here from the base of the beautiful Rocky Mountains, folks. I'm glad you could join me. It's sometimes easy, sometimes hard, and sometimes you just have to say, don't make it so hard. Because right now, it's a simplistic situation. ECB at your back, performance anxiety into the month, into the quarter. That's what's happening. I mean, you see it day by day. Each of these days is doing the same thing. Does it again today. If you look here, what does it do? Tries to come back, can't come back, right? Nobody's going to sell this thing. I've been saying for a while, they're not going to sell it. And, what retrace occurs, and this week is the perfect week to get that retrace, it's going to get bought. And they won't even wait, the buyers, won't even wait for more than, 3 or 4 points on the S&P. And they're there chomping at the bits, right, trying to buy some more. So sometimes it's just like, you just have to say, hey, that's the way it is. And it just doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. Here's the numbers. Tried to pull back today. The industrial's down a whole point. Lost 1.22. Take that one to the bank. S&Ps were down even more, 1.39. Everything else was up. Actually, this Russell number is wrong. Russell was down today. It was the loser on the downside. I don't know, something wrong with this quote system. Elsewhere, what happened? Really not that much. The only thing that really caught my eye today was gold was moving up today. It was up a little bit more than this. Again, the quote system here is not right. It was up about $6-7 on the day. So numbers-wise, really nothing happened. If you look inside these markets and we try to make some sense out of what happened inside these, again, you're not going to find anything. Nothing really took place today. All you have was just this little tight consolidation at the highs. Now, sometimes that can mean, you're going to get some sort of a pullback. But a lot of times it simply means just a little pause before it starts pushing again. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing just continue pushing. I mean, I can see how we could come back. But then at the same time, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, because right now, ECB at your back, performance anxiety into the end of the quarter. That's it. That's what's happening. Unless something comes out of the blue, and this week there is no news really, it's hard to see any kind of serious retrace. So Dow comes down a little bit, nothing there, just hanging, right? The NASDAQ, same thing, nothing there. Remember, NASDAQ yesterday got up to the highs, couldn't get over them, and now it's just consolidating right at them. If you look at the NDX actually has been pushing and is still up there pushing, hasn't changed, right? The only one that came down today in any decent way was the Russell, and the only reason it came down was that it just finished off an ABCD structure to the upside, and it's been the weakest sector. The weakest index. And what does it do? Does an inside day, kind of a doji, kind of hammer type top. It doesn't even want to pull back. That's the kind of move that you're seeing out here. That's the kind of action that you're seeing. So, yesterday we were seeing a little bit of a mixed picture. Could get a pullback. Well, you saw the pullback today, like 0.2%, and they bought it, and so they just jumped all over it. And nobody, there's just no real selling inside the market at all. Today was a real tight range all day long. Not a lot happening. Let's look over at the major sectors. And I'm just going to flip through my notes here right quick for myself and see which ones stand out at me. The only one I see here, SOX, continues to push higher. Came in a little bit and pushed higher. You got small retraces everywhere. XLF, XLI still hanging at the highs. Nothing's changed here. These guys haven't even put in a B point yet. I mean, that's how crazy this is, right? After 3 weeks of rally, you still only have a B point. That's just like day after day after day of up. And that's been consistently what we've seen. XLV had a little bit of a pullback, doing kind of a retest, regen here, and it looks like it's going to hold. And so I would think XLV tries to work higher tomorrow. And what was the other one I looked at today that looked interesting? Oh, it wasn't here. It was over in the Ox markets. So let's pop over to those. So really, from the sector perspective, nothing there either. Nothing there telling me anything. The one thing that did have a little bit of a move today was gold. Now, we can't hardly call that much. Not much volume here. It's pushing back up. And what's it going to do? It's going to come in and do a retest, regen. And the lowest bar is this one. So it'll be a retest, regen off that bar. So this little area here is going to be tough to get over. It's been more than 6 bars. So that means all you got to do is test into that. And that would be the test. Now, what caught my eye wasn't so much that gold was trying to come back up. It was the way the silver chart looked. So if I look at silver, you can see silver also had came down. On this bar here, you can see the trend change, right? Because it took out this low, right? Takes out that low. And what does that do? Well, on the way back, that sets up a retest regen. So the retest regen is off that low. And what did it do today? Got over it. Trades over it today. Yeah, it don't have any volume. But the fact that it trades over it, if it can hold up there another bar, that probably says that that isn't going to regenerate lower. If silver's not going to regenerate lower, gold isn't either. Gold's going to actually find some way to get back up into that swing point and push a little bit higher. So to me, the tell tier tomorrow is silver. Watch silver to see if it can push up. That's where this tell is. And so if we take that and extend that over to GDX and GDXJ, which is the gold stocks, you can see they are already coming back in to do the retest. So here's that retest regen that's just starting today. So that will be a big thing tomorrow, is how does it handle this bar into that retest? More than 6 bars. All it's got to do is test that low. And when I say all it's got to do is, usually after 6 bars, that's about all it does is test the low. It doesn't really get into it. And so tomorrow, big numbers here in terms of what does this do? Does this push higher, right? Back up into this area? Or does it just fail here? That's the gold, the large cap gold stocks. If we look at the small guys, the GXJ, these guys also pushing, and they push with volume today. They really started to expand. And they've already gotten over the swing point retest regen zone, which is there. So here, clear breakout, right? Nice volume expansion. Something's happening inside this market, inside the gold market, suggesting that maybe we've got some sort of a bottom taking place here again. Let's put it on the weekly just to get a context of it. All of these were coming back to test into these lows on the weekly. Volume expands, right? Coming back, looks like it's going to test lower. Now it's flipping around to get a run back up. Now if I was a classical guy anymore, I can't help but see these kinds of things, right? That looks like a inverse head and shoulders. It's kind of a crazy neckline if that's what it is. But it certainly finds support down here where it's supposed to find support. Now it's trying to push back up. Look at GDX on a weekly. GDX comes into those lows as well, tries to test into them. Really nothing there. It doesn't have much push yet, so that's going to be the question, is does this push like the others? And if we look at it, you got the exact same sort of scenario here, right, with kind of this strange neckline. And this one also, from a classical perspective, looks the same. From a neoclassical perspective, what does it tell you though? Gets a break of this swing point. So from a neo point of view, what you want to watch is the test. It's within 6 bars on a weekly, so you don't have the 6 bar problem on the weekly. This thing can get all the way to the top of that swing point low. That top is 24. So if we push back now to the daily and look at it, what you're going to see is 24 on the daily is going to take it above and beyond easily the highs of that particular swing point low and call the whole thing into question. So even if it gets inside here, it's going to make me think that in fact it's going to push up there and try to do something. And if that's true, then gold maybe has succeeded in testing these tops and is ready to try to actually turn these gold shares and gold stocks, turn and try to work higher. So if there was anything significant, it was here. It really wasn't anywhere else. I didn't see anything else today that looked that interesting. Let me see. Let me see if I get any more thoughts here on those. I'm flipping through my notes. Oh, the other thing was the dollar, and maybe this is part of it, is, there's been a huge rush back into dollars as a result of what's happening in the FXE. FXE crashes and burns today. Remember, it had that big spike, short covering spike on the Draghi announcement. Now you come back under it, you test back under it, you're under the lows, you've set up another ABCD structure to the downside. So you already had this one that hasn't completed yet. Now you've got another one inside of it. And these are kind of hard to draw. 1, 2, 3. Looks like it's to here. Back up and then back down. And you can see that takes it to about the same price point, down around 133. It looks to me like that's where it's trying to head. Now, in the past, and this is how relationships changed. In the past, gold tracked the euro. In other words, if the euro went up, gold went up, vice versa. Now the euro is crashing down, yet gold isn't going with it anymore. We're seeing some sort of a divergence start to take place between these two. My suspicion is that gold, just for those couple of years or 3 years has been doing it. I haven't gone back and looked at the data long enough, but it never made sense to me why the gold would track the euro. I never quite understood that. But for whatever reason, it did. Now that relationship seems to be breaking down. And if gold really does start to turn here, it's hard for me to see how the euro is going to work higher. The euro just seems like it has to work lower given what's happening in Europe. So maybe that relationship's going to break down. All right, let's look at a question or two that was emailed to me, and then any questions you may have. When I don't have anything to offer you, I'm not going to sit here and make up stuff. So, to me, it's a pretty simple case of this market's going to try to work higher into the end of the month because of the two reasons I've already stated. And any and all pullbacks, be they very small or reasonably large, they're going to get bought. And that's kind of what we're seeing take place. And so, there's really not much more to say about it other than trying to see when that pullback is going to happen. And as of tonight, I don't see anything suggesting anything in that manner. All right, so one of the questions, Baytex Energy, BTE. Let's take a look at this guy. All right, so it breaks 2 swing points on one fatal swoop. That's usually says you're going to get what? 2 to 3 bars extension. Here's your breakout. You can see it was suspect. Volume wasn't as high as the bar it was breaking. So it's a suspect. You've got 1 bar extension. Expect 2 to 3. That doesn't mean that they have to be up here. They could be up here. They just don't come back down here. Right? That's the 2 to 3 bar thought. So the buy actually was yesterday on the break. right, expecting 2 to 3 bars, and today you got the push. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Okay, on the weekly, oh, well, no wonder. You got the breaks not only on the dailies but the weeklies. Okay, so this actually changes things a little bit, because the breaks on multiple time frames, right, there's two more characteristics to consider. A, they're stronger, right? It's a stronger break when you get multiple time frames versus just one, right? The breakout is going to be stronger than it normally would be. So expect it to push. The second thing is the 2 to 3 bars also applies here. So if this breakout holds through the end of the week, then you can expect more strength, 2 to 3 bars on a weekly basis to continue, right? And that means potentially up or sideways. What it does is it gives you reasonably good confidence it's not going to come back and break down on you. Why do you need that? Well, because if you're going to buy a breakout, what's the worst thing you can do? You buy it at the highs and then you get forced out at the lows, and then it just takes off again because you're playing it too tight. When you know, on a breakout, you want a high confidence it's going to continue on. When you get multiple breakouts, multiple time frames, percentages go up dramatically. So that to me is a nice breakout. Question was, should I chase it? I don't know if I'd chase it, but I'd try to find a way into that trade. Intraday type stuff. So, and I've pointed this out before, and since I have some time tonight, we'll do it again. So let me pull up this chart so we can look intraday at it. So it's BTE, and let's pull it in on 5 days, put it on like 30 minutes so we can see where our strength is. Boy, it all came in at the end of the day, didn't it? All right, let's break it to 15 minutes and see if we can find something worth looking at. So if I break it here and take off that last bar so I can see the bars. Yeah, so the logical place here is about 43.20. You can see the little congestion in this area. And so when I'm looking at it from that perspective, I'm looking for a place where I've got some volume and congestion, and that's in this area. So I would think this area is not a bad one. You had a wide price spread bar here too, and you've got your other volume coming in there, so there's another one right up here. So I try to look there and I try to look here. That's the 43.20 we were talking about. The other place 43.40, and that's a way to try to get yourself into that based on the breakout and the assumption that that breakout is going to continue. Let's go over and see what kind of questions we got over here on the boards. Tommy says, what happened to GM? I don't know. Let's go see what happened to GM. So GM, if we go to a daily, I'm not sure what we're talking about. You got to break out multiple swing points on one time frame, and it came back in and did a retest regen. Volume was a little heavy on the retest regen, but not compared to the breakout bar. This is just consolidating. It looks to me like it's going to try to go higher. Let me see what the weekly looked like again. Yeah, so you just have it on the one time frame. So, I think this is, I remember talking about this in one of my shows. I was looking at something and this one happened to pop up. I think we were just looking at high volume stocks that day. This looks like it's going to try to get to this area, 37.50, 60 area. Another question, EOG. So EOG is in the oil sector. They're driller, EOG Resources. I'm on the weekly. You can see they're pressing up. Your big spike bar here is 106.50 down to 96. That's on the weekly. Let's go to the daily. And it's pulling in a little bit. It already did a retest regen. At a suspect breakout. Yeah, you know, it depends. A lot of these, you know, how can you get into these potentially? You know, the zone really is drawn in perfectly here by the charts, and that is that, you know, this high, this high, those all are going to give it nice support in here. So if it drifts back into this area, that's the area, and yeah, it looks okay. I mean, nothing's got great volume, so you just have to kind of forget great volume. What you want to do is see the test hold, which reconfirms the fact that it wants to go higher, and that's what you need to see. And again, with the market as it is right now, pretty much everything wants to go higher. Throw a dart. It doesn't really matter right now, and probably doesn't matter for the next roughly 3 weeks until we get to the end of the month, because I expect they're going to try to buy just about anything they see. Another one that actually broke out today, if you want to take a look at it, is Facebook. Facebook had broken over, and this is a nice looking chart. Facebook had broken over 2 swing point highs back here on this nice bar, pushes up, and then of course runs into these swing points, and then it consolidates, right? And then today volume expands, and those stops, I'm assuming that were associated with this, they start pushing them out. So they've finally gotten over all the congestion. If I were doing, and to me, that's like perfect stuff, right? You go over multiple swing points, you get 2 to 3 bars, and then, right, that high, if you look at that high was 61.89. Where does it come back to? 61.79. That's the test. As a matter of fact, you actually had a couple of them. No, it was really just this one. So you had the one test yesterday. Test into there. There's no volume on the test. That's the reconfirmation, right, that it can't break it down. Very next day, boom, back the other way. Now you're over 3 swing point highs. And if you pull this out and put it on a weekly, you're going to see that you're going back up, to get over this bar. This is the last big one, 67.36. And then after that, it's really just a swing point high, and there's not a lot of volume at the high. So from a trading perspective, this set up nicely, gave you a nice entry if you were watching. And then actually, if you were watching today, you could have got nice entries. I brought this up to members in the trading room today early, and you know, it was very tradable today, and it was straight up all day. I mean, if you look at it, it gave you 2 entries this morning. Here's the intraday on it. I'll bring it in, put it on 1 day. So it gaps up. Matter of fact, let's just pull it this way so you can see it. So it gaps up, right? You had one little entry right at the beginning, and then it was pretty much just straight up all day long. And so if you break this into, like, you know, a 5-minute chart, if you're watching it on that time frame, you actually had, and this is what I was looking at, you actually had this nice consolidation, right, 2-bar overlap. Then it comes right back in there and test it. That's the buy. As a matter of fact, I bought it myself there. That's the buy, and then you get the push up, right, and then you get all this congestion taking place up here. Doesn't give you a lot of opportunity to get in up there. What you had to do was you had to buy this breakout again, right, coming over this high. And so the same concepts I show and talk about on the dailies, they work intraday too. So you got to push up, the volume expands, it comes over it, right, consolidation eventually just closes at or near the highs. This wants to go higher. And so, you know, there's a lot of these stocks now, Facebook being one of them, that are set up, and these got, remember, social media got creamed. I mean, these were down 30%. And if you look at what's in that group, we looked at this, like, I think yesterday or the day before. Twitter's another one, and Twitter's right there trying to do the same thing. Twitter's probably going to take more effort to get up and over this, but it's probably going to squeeze back up and close that gap here, you know, at some point. And it may be on this move given the strength in Facebook. Because I wouldn't buy this one, I'd buy the strong one, but I'm just saying they're getting pulled up. And you know, these stocks that got killed are going to get pulled a little bit higher. Let's see what other kind of questions we got. So GM looks different. Let me see. Let me pull up this one and see. Let's see. It looks the same to me there. Hang on a second. Let me pull it back up. I don't know. It looks pretty much the same here to me. So you say GM seems different from the stock charts chart. Looks like a 2-bar on the other. A 2-bar reversal you're talking about? I wouldn't take that as a reversal even if it was, because you've actually consolidated here. To me, a 2-bar reversal is when you pop up, right, and you keep stretching, and without any kind of consolidation, and you're extended, right, then you go over back under. That to me is a 2-bar. After you've been up here 3, 4, 5 bars, that's not really a 2-bar in my book. Let's see, next question, S-Bucks. Let's see what S-Bucks looks like. So this is Starbucks. Let's get the right symbol in there, Starbucks. Okay, so Starbucks, yeah, it's just climbing higher. You know, it's actually interesting because Starbucks, I just saw where coffee prices were going up 10% or something. But, you know, with Starbucks, I've seen this many times. It doesn't matter. They just raise the price, maintain their margins, and people keep drinking the coffee. It just doesn't matter. Unless they went up 100% or something, I guess, right? So you're coming into this big bar, March 19th. That's the big bar on the way up. Bottom of that guy's 74.82. You came into it yesterday, 74.80 was the low. Today, 74.65. This is going to stretch on up. It's going to stretch up to this next zone probably. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Yeah. I mean, this is not bad. I mean, it's set up well. It's just had like the rest of the market. It's just had a long stretch, and it's just getting a little pullback here. Starbucks on a longer term time frame, it's just consolidation, right? It's up here consolidating. There's like a range here and a range there, and it's heading up to the top of that first zone it's in, right? The lower zone it's in, and going to try to get over it, right, into the top one. Attack that high, attack this high. You get over those, there's only one left, and it's probably going to go up there. There's volume on it, so I would expect it's going to make its way up there. Just taking time. Okay, let's see what else we got. I'm about out of time here, so I guess we'll call it a day. Folks, yesterday it looked like it could try to retrace. Today it doesn't even look like it. So we'll see if they try to get any kind of retrace. But, as I've been saying, I suspect whatever retrace you see, you're going to see other people just come in and buy it. It's just the way it's set up right now. So I appreciate you being there. Take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Good night, folks.